Some people have written books, some have a great look that covers the magazines for kids who are 17. But I don't know what to do, staring into the blue sky and just waiting for a sign. Some, they are certain of what awaits them when it all ends, but I don't know.
Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect life. Today's video is going to be a bit of a morning routine video. So kind of a day in the life, but focusing on the first half of our day. And this is part of the Homeschool Show and Tell series. It's hosted by Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way. And they put out a homeschool topic every single month. And it's just a great chance for different moms to kind of collaborate and show what things look like in their homeschools. So if you check out the playlist that's linked down below in my description box, you can see all of the different videos for this month, and people will add to that playlist throughout the entire month. So definitely check it out. But today we're going to be talking about morning routines. And I have two high schoolers. So I have a 10th grader and an 11th grader. And every year has been a little bit different for us. You know, our morning routines have really shifted depending on what we have going on. And this year was definitely like a big shift. Probably because my son got his first job. He's been super excited to have his first job. He loves it. But when we were looking for jobs and thinking about the times that would work for him, we realized that we really didn't want to pack the evenings because the kids both play basketball and basketball practices are starting soon. And then, oh, the cats are arguing. The basketball practices are starting soon and then games. And so it's going to get pretty hectic pretty quickly in the evenings. So the manager at his job had asked, well, would you be okay with him working the lunch shift a couple days a week, you know, from like 11 to 2? And I thought, well, you know what, that'd be okay. And I talked to him about it. And we set the expectation that he needed to be up early every morning. He needed to get at least a significant chunk of his schoolwork done every morning and be prepared to finish it after his work shift. And if at any point it looked like he was getting behind or if that wasn't working, then he was either going to have to cut back on his hours or he was going to have to switch to a different time of day for work. And I think that was just a really good motivator for him because he really did want to work. He wanted to work. And so that's motivated him to set that early morning alarm, get up, get things done. Our group subjects, sometimes we get to them in the morning. Sometimes we get to them in the afternoon after his shift. Now, my preference is to have it done in the morning, especially because my oldest is an early riser. She tends to get up, want to get her independent work done. She wants to get her group work done and then be finished for the day. Because usually she could be all done by noon or 1 o'clock if we've gotten our group work done in the morning. On some days where maybe the independent work is taking a little bit longer, and we've pushed our group subjects to after my son's midday shift, she'll oftentimes use those few hours that he is at work and she will go and she'll do a round of golf or some practice and things like that. So it has just been all about flexibility this year. I mean, really making sure that everybody's using their mornings really wisely. That's probably the number one thing, right? Using our morning time really wisely, but also just being flexible with things from day to day. And as someone who's got a lot going on, you know, outside of just homeschooling, that has been true for me as well. You know, I need to be able to flex where I need to be and what I need to be doing and utilizing what time that I have outside of homeschooling really wisely as best I can. So that is kind of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to show you a bit about what the kids are doing, what I'm doing with my morning. You probably already saw. So I got up, I got my coffee made, I got my planner filled out for the day, I got my to-do list done for the day. I was on the computer answering like a bunch of emails and working on some orders for my cake business, just getting like invoices sent out and things like that. Sometimes I will get up and I will do my workout first thing in the morning. Sometimes. This morning was not one of them. Last night was kind of a late night, so I didn't feel like setting the alarm an extra half an hour early. But I will probably get a workout in, likely while my son is at work. And then we'll tackle the other things we have to do in the afternoon. So going to get a few more things done. I'm trying to use my first hour of the day as productively as I can. All right, sorry about that. The cats decided they were going to fight because they don't care that I'm filming. #rude. Anyways, before the kids get up, I'm going to try to get just a few more things done, a little bit of cleanup and stuff like that, get some breakfast started, and then I will take you downstairs with us as we are working on our schoolwork, show you a bit about how things are going for them, what it is that they're working on, and just take you through our morning routine. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so trying to use up some of the excess tomatoes from the garden, because Lord knows we've got tons and tons and tons, and I am tired of canning. So before we go downstairs, I just cut up a whole bunch of tomatoes. I had yellow tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, celebrity tomatoes, just a bunch. Cut them, take out the core, cut them into either quarters or halves, throw them on a tray, and then you can throw just whole cloves of garlic on there. Now I also had some bell peppers, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw those on there as well. Sprinkle it all with a little bit of olive oil, just some extra virgin olive oil, and then I put a little bit of balsamic on it as well, salt and pepper. It's gonna go in the oven at 425 for about an hour. And then when it comes out, I'm going to throw it all in the food processor and blend it up, make a sauce. Now, this is not a canning tested recipe. So what we don't use for like dinner, I will put into gallon size freezer bags and I'll just freeze flat. The other thing is that I'm not too concerned about skins and seeds and all that stuff for this. This is the lazy mom's way to use up some of the hopefully final batches of tomatoes from the garden. So I do want to show you guys some of the things we got up for fall decorating. I almost did a fall decorate with me video, but I am not a designer, so I didn't really feel qualified. But I'll tell you what, guys, this big picture up here, I found this at Hobby Lobby. I went to go look for like a larger piece because, you know, the fireplace is big and I wanted something that kind of would make an impact. Couldn't find anything I like. And then one of the associates said, well, somebody just returned a painting from spring and it's marked down to $9 from 100. And I was like, sold. So I brought that, set that up here, and then everything else I just kind of decided on based off that. So these wooden candlesticks, I've had these for years, got these from Hobby Lobby. These rotate and are used all throughout the house in different ways. The amber jar is one that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby. The little cotton sticks, I've had those forever. The other vase had forever. But then all of these guys, these all came from Dollar Tree this year. I mean, Dollar Tree for the win on fall decorations. They had so many cute pumpkins with different textures and things like that. And even like these gold ones. I mean, I really love it. So I've got a bit more of a, I don't know, toned down neutral look to the fireplace, but I really like how it turned out. Then I brought out these, I showed these last year, I made these. These are foam pumpkins from Michael's. I just cut off the top and they're hollow inside. Stuck a bunch of different floral stems in them. And then, you know, I'm all about the Sally Clarkson, make these comfortable little moment type things. So I've got candles everywhere. So there's usually candles, a couple coasters. I'm gonna bring out some little books to kind of tuck here and there. So the whole idea is that you could sit down in the chair, light a candle, relax with a cup of tea, create a little moment there. Kept the dining table really simple. So these are the same as those candle holders that you saw on top of the fireplace. I just had two extra. I asked Emma if I should put two different candlesticks on here and she goes, no, put the wood ones even though they're not the same height. So that's what I did. And then I save floral sticks like the faux flowers that I use from year to year. And one was looking a little rough. So I actually cut off the stems that looked pretty decent. And so these are all actually like individual little ones that I've kind of tucked together around that. But I did get a new table runner because the old one was getting pretty shot. So this one came from Hobby Lobby as well. And then, sorry, the lighting's not the greatest because we have this guy here. But this is our bookcase in the back. So I cleared off the entire bookcase when I was going to decorate. And I just had a mass of stuff all over the table because I bring out everything for fall all at once. And then I will put down all of my like things that I use over and over and over again. Like the metal buckets I'll use over and over again. The vases I'll use over and over again. The antique books, that sort of thing. But hopefully I did okay, right? Because don't they tell you that you're supposed to like, you know, alternate your big things? Like, right? So boom, boom, boom. And then I did the same thing on the other side, boom, boom, boom. And in the middle, trying to make it so it draws your eye down. So I was trying to follow those kind of techniques where you put the big things on first and then you put other stuff around. But I'll show you some of these things that I got a little bit closer. So yeah, so a lot of things on here, I mean, I already had. So this is something that Emma painted for me at the pottery studio. It is just super cute. I've had this gnome forever. I think this came from Home Goods once upon a time, but I love using these kind of antique looking books on shelves and displays. I have a whole bunch of them, all different types of novels. So I'll just pull a couple each month and use them in the decorations. And then all of these like little pumpkins, all of these came from Dollar Tree, and I just think they're cute. I mean, like I said, Dollar Tree for the win this year. And then, you know, just adding in some few things, like these were picks from Dollar Tree. This guy came from Dollar Tree too. I mean, shoot, you know, you look at it from far away and it doesn't really look like a Dollar Tree display, but love it. And then of course the truck is up here. The truck is out all the time. I painted this at a pottery studio years ago, and then I just change what's in the truck bed every month. And then of course I have some of the dried flowers up there as well. Speaking of dried flowers, these are velvet curtain amaranth from my own garden. So I had them drying for a couple of weeks and they will maintain their color. I actually did a whole wreath of this stuff. It's out in the garage drying currently. So that way, you know, the seed heads on them don't fall off. But I love that this came from my garden, and it's too dark outside right now for me to show you the wreath that I made, but I filmed it the other day. So I did a wreath of a variety of flowers, all from my garden. And basically I just pulled together things that I thought that would look pretty dried. So I have some various sedums, including autumn joy sedum. I have hydrangea blooms. I have status, gomphrena. I grabbed some coreopteris. I mean, just a variety of stuff. So I create these little bundles and then I would wire them to a wreath form. And I just got the 12-inch wreath forms from Dollar Tree and wrap it on there pretty tight, especially since I was cutting fresh blooms for this particular wreath. I didn't want them to fall off as the plants were drying out. So wrapped them on there pretty tightly, and then I just kept adding more and more and more. I would kind of angle it one direction, wrap it, angle it another direction, wrap it. And I did that until the whole wreath was full. And I absolutely love how this wreath turned out. Like, it is so pretty. It is so pretty on the door. And as it's drying, everything is staying in place. It's maintaining its color. And I'm just, I'm so happy to have that done. All right, so typically Emma will be up first. She'll come downstairs, start her work. Ethan's not long after. And then I come down and I will start getting our group work prepped for whenever we're going to be doing it. Like I said, sometimes we get it done in the mornings. Sometimes we have to wait and do it in the afternoon. It just kind of depends on their workload for the day. Anyways, we're doing Attributes of God for our family Bible study. This is from Daily Grace Co. I have really enjoyed this. We've gotten through all of the incommunicable attributes of God. We're on the communicable ones. And today we're going to be studying good. So there's always Bible verses to read. I will mark those in my Bible so they're ready to go. And then I will read this to the kids. It's typically about 2 pages, and then we'll go through the questions. I write my answers right in the books here, and then they each have a journal for writing in their answers as well. We are also still working on God's Old Testament people. If you remember, like last year, we just did not get through it. It took us longer because some of these just took a while to discuss, and we didn't want to rush it. So we're finishing it up. We're almost done with it, and then we'll switch over to a New Testament study. But we are on Ahab and Elijah. So usually there's quite a bit of more scripture reading with these. And so that's why they take us a while, because we want to read through all of the scripture. And then this is the student book, and this is really all I use to guide it. But, you know, for example, we're going to read about it and we're going to discuss what we see in the verses. We'll be talking about God's envoys for Israel, envoys for us, but there's always a New Testament connection. So, you know, it'll tell an Old Testament lesson, and then it'll talk about, you know, applying it either now or, you know, applications in the New Testament. So I really liked this. I mean, granted, it's a little dated in terms of graphics and stuff, right? But still really good information. And then German, we're getting ready to study for a test. Oh, here's our current read out loud. So we are on Dealing with Dragons. I love this. It's just a fun book. It really is kind of a YA book, but it's fun. So your kids might enjoy it. It's part of the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. Great series. And then I know today I will be doing, well, I still call them thinking zones. That's what these used to be called when my son first started with BJU. But when he has a BJU reading assignment, I go through and I do these about questions with him pretty much every day. These are the questions that help us, understand the poem or the story that we're reading better. He's been doing a ton of poetry in this unit, which he loves. Hear my sarcasm there. But basically, we're going to be identifying slant rhyme, sound devices. There's been a lot of this, identifying sound devices. Now, this is why I like the teacher guide, because there are the questions. Here are the answers for me. And then if I look over here, you can see all of these examples of things highlighted in here. So I don't have to try to figure it out myself. I can look over here to make sure he's identifying things right. So we're looking at assonance, alliteration, there'll be metaphors, personification, slant rhyme, and it's all marked in there for me. So it makes it so much easier for me to lead these lessons. But basically, like each day with the reading assignment, he'll read it. We will do the about questions, and then he may or may not have a worksheet. They also have these little like daily quizzes. They're just basic quizzes to verify that he's read it and has basic understanding for it. These are the longer thinking zones that BJU has. We will do these together as well, and this is where they'll introduce some different key terms. So we'll read through this. We'll make sure he understands all of the definitions. A lot of times after reading through it, I will ask him basically to narrate back to me, like, what does this mean? So that way I know that he understands it. And then we are getting almost done with this unit. So he'll have this unit finished up this week. We'll go through the unit review. He'll take the test. And then this is unit 2. So after 2 units, we do a novel study. So he's actually going to be moving on and reading The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring before he goes into unit 3 here. So that's what we're working on right now. As far as kind of the order in which they do things, I don't tell them like you need to do these subjects in these orders. We have multiple laptops, plus we have my desktop. So if they need a computer for watching videos for like their Guest Hollow courses, the tutorials for math, all of that stuff, we have plenty of computers that everyone can work at whichever pace and order they would like. Now, my son almost always wants to start with math, which I find funny because math is the subject my daughter likes to push to the very end. She is not loving pre-calculus like at all. And, and it is tough. I spoke to this in another video where I mentioned that, maybe it was on an Instagram story, but so she had done, the Saxon math up until last year. She did Algebra 2 through Saxon math, and then we switched over to Shoreman. And a lot of the questions she's getting as part of review for Shoreman are assuming that she knows things that Shoreman included in their Algebra 2 and geometry program that were new things, like things that they added in when they redid those programs that weren't in the original Saxon program. So that's made it a little bit harder for her because we've had to take the time to go back and make sure she understands those things that were a part of Shoreman math that weren't a part of Saxon math. Now, I still love Saxon math, right? I still think it was a great way for them to learn. If I could go back and do it again, though, I would probably have switched her over to the Shoreman math earlier, like maybe done Saxon in elementary school, middle school, and then switched to Shoreman in high school, like when she started algebra, which is what we did for my son. So I think my son will find that when he gets to pre-calculus next year, he won't have that same issue because he'll have already seen this stuff that this year they're considering review for her, but she hasn't learned or hasn't seen. So they work on things in whatever order they want to. My son tells me when he's ready for us to do that reading assignment, he'll have a paper that turned in today for me to edit for his IEW writing. I've done a whole video on how it is that I teach writing and how it is I mark up their papers. I will go ahead and I'll link that up here for you guys if you want to check that out. He has been doing the IEW theme-based writing. This year he's doing their Bible stories one. So it's been a lot of, so far it's been parables, and like there was the miracle at Cana, the prodigal son. I think this week it's the 10 talents. So as he works through those, he does a rough draft. Typically on Thursdays, the rough drafts are due. So I can look at that versus the checklist and I give it back to him to edit. But usually while they're working, I'm working on whatever it is I need to do. This is a great time for me to do grading. So I'll grade the stuff from the previous day, or if there's like bigger papers and stuff to grade. I also like to do some of the reading. So I do try to keep up with them or stay ahead of them on their reading. So if I know like next week they're going to be reading certain things, I will try to read it the week prior, just so I'm familiar with it and ready to help them. So Emma is doing Canterbury Tales right now for Excellence in Literature. That's her primary book, but she's going to have an honors book this month, and that's Pierce the Plowman, which I've not read. So I'm going to sit and try to get through a little bit of this. And then there's a ton of books for their guest hollow courses, like read in little sections. So I'm going to read the next week's worth of assignments for the book Ethan's doing. It's Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes, because he's on the Greeks right now, and then he'll be going into like Roman culture and stuff. So there's been a lot of really interesting books to read for that, but I just try to be available if they need any help and get a little of my work done as well. And then occasionally, like, I'll just pop upstairs if I need to swap out a load of laundry and things like that. But looking at the time, we've got about an hour and a half till I have to take my son to work. So he works 11 to 2. Which you might say, oh gosh, that would be like a weird, awful break in the middle of the day. But again, the deal with him was he needed to get up early and get really good headway on his schoolwork and be committed to finishing up as soon as he gets home from work. So he only works like 5 minutes from home. So when we bring him home, usually if we haven't done group in the morning, we will do group as soon as we get home. And group takes us about an hour. Sometimes a little over. It depends on what we're doing. But usually an hour is about where we're at. We're reviewing for a German test, so we might go a little long today just because I want to make sure that they're really ready for the test that they're going to take tomorrow. But yeah, usually about an hour, and then he can finish up what he needs.
Will I be remembered in a century? Or will I be forgotten like dust in the wind? Or the talk of the town that we are living in? Well, I don't know. How could I know what lies ahead?
Okay, right. So if you look on line number 1 and 2, for example. So remember how we talked about how there were lines that were in Jambin, where like the thought continues on to the next line. So that's when you have traveling through the dark, I found a deer dead on the edge of the Wilson River Road. So those lines kind of go together. So the alliteration will go from line. All right, so quick check-in. It is 10:40, and we have to leave in about 10 minutes to go drop my son off at work. So my oldest is all done. She finished up with all of her independent stuff. She actually didn't end up having like a full math lesson today. This is one of those weird weeks where there was only 3 lessons and then the weekly quiz, and the quizzes take like 10-15 minutes. So instead of having an hour to spend on pre-calculus, she got done much faster. So she's going to go golf for a couple of hours. She'll get home about the same time that my son gets off of work, so that way we can do our group stuff, and that'll be the last thing she has for today. My son's about 3/4 of the way through his work for today. I think the fact that he had to write the paragraphs today for IEW just took him a little bit longer. But he'll finish that up. So when he gets home from work, he will do the group subjects with us, and then he will finish his stuff. So he won't get done until probably, between 4 and 4:30. But again, that's his choice. He wanted to work. This was the shift they offered, and so he knows he has to be flexible to work with that. And I've costume change, right? It's beautiful outside. So once I drop him off at work, I'm actually going to go out and get some gardening done. There's tons to do this time of year as far as cleaning out beds and harvesting stuff. And I have pots I need to change out to fall flowers. So lots of stuff happening. And we try to use all of the time we have during the day as wisely as possible. So anyways, I know most of the other videos on this playlist have been really talking about kind of their morning schedules, right? Morning baskets, exactly what they're doing and things like that. And while we have some good rhythms in place, we definitely have had to maintain flexibility. And that's really just been the name of the game this year, given the fact that, my oldest still has several golf competitions she needs to get ready for. My son is working and we're just kind of learning how to balance everything while still, making sure that our schoolwork remains a priority and their education remains a priority. So we just, like I said, we just had to be flexible. That's the name of the game. But in general, we do have rhythms in place, right? We're all getting up around the same time in the mornings. I get up first, and I use that first hour of my day to try to get as much of the stuff that I need to get done as I can. So I try to have a productive first hour of the day. So that way I can go into helping with the schoolwork and, being available without feeling like, oh my gosh, I have all of this stuff still on my to-do list I have to get to. It's just nice to have a productive start to the day. And then, again, just kind of the order that the kids have done things. It's funny how they create their own schedule. They each have a preference on what order they do things, and they've developed it on their own, and they don't seem to deviate from it, like ever. It's so funny to see just the order that they mark things off. I don't know if it's like my son likes to do math first, and then he will do all of his things that don't take very long. So vocab and grammar, usually, like he'll get those knocked out. His nutrition course, get that knocked out. Then he'll go into some of the other things. Like the reading is almost always last for him. That's just what he likes to do. Emma, like I said, always saves math till the very end, and she kind of like spaces out the courses that have a lot of reading. So she'll do like food science, and then she'll switch gears and do do vocab, and then she'll do her government econ, and then she'll do physics, and then like math is at the end. Now she has, for excellence in literature, it's not something that's broken down into daily assignments for her. So it's not, read these pages, do this day. She gets an assignment on the first day of the week on Monday, and it says, this is your assignment for the whole week. So for example, she's got to start reading Canterbury Tales this week. She has to read the module introduction in the textbook, and then she's supposed to check out context resources. How she breaks that up is up to her. She ended up reading like the module introduction on Monday, and I believe she checked out a couple of the context resources. And then Tuesday, she started doing some of the reading. She was down there reading for a while today. She asked me not to film her, and I told her I wouldn't because she was in all loungy clothes and wanted to be comfortable. So I didn't want to go against her wishes there. So that's just kind of how she's been managing that. And she will oftentimes just take the book that she's reading for literature with her, if we're going places, so she can sit and do some reading. She does a lot of reading in the evenings up in her room, just to kind of get through those books because they are quite long. And if she was only trying to get them done like during the morning school hours, I mean, she'd be there forever. She'd much rather get her other work done, go do her golf practice, and then when she's coming home and relaxing in the evening, sit down and do some more reading. And I am totally cool with that because she gets it done. It doesn't matter to me if she gets it done, by noon or if she's getting it done after supper. The fact is that she's maintaining her own schedule, holding herself accountable, and getting things accomplished, which is the skill that I want them to have, because that's what they're going to need to do when they go to college, is be able to manage their time and get things done when they need done. Anyways, that's where I'm going to end things for this kind of morning rhythm, morning day in the life video, whatever you'd like to call this one. If you enjoy these types of videos, don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you go. Subscribe if you are interested in following along and seeing how we are homeschooling through high school. We have lots of things that we've shared so far and lots more to show you in the coming months. And don't forget to check out the other videos in this month's playlist. I'll have the playlist down below, and at the beginning of each month, they'll have a new topic and a new playlist up so you can continue to see how many different families approach that homeschooling topic. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy homeschooling.
Will I be washed away just like lines in the sand?